Here's what happened, guys. We, the American people, have made it clear we want real food. Our country is sick and tired of being sick and tired. The desire for local, healthy food from a local farmer is becoming louder in our society. So, of course, for the last show of the week, we have to talk again about our favorite Congressman, Thomas Massie, the rare elected official who holds to his principles. Let's talk about the Prime Act pilot program and what this means for small business owners. Welcome back to the RD Week show. Happy Friday, guys. So I'm going to share a clip from, again, the interview between Tucker Carlson and Congressman Thomas Massie. And in it, he talks about this Prime Act pilot program. So I'm going to get this up here. As I said last time, it's just me. So please, if you haven't yet subscribed to the show, leave a comment. Let's continue to get this show out there to more people so that I can hire a producer faster for this show. Let me get the audio set up here. Okay, and here we go, guys.
My Prime Act, a pilot program for it in the Farm Bill, which means that here in Maine or in Kentucky or any of the state in the union, you could have a small farmer use a small processor and sell their beef, pork, and lamb locally to consumers without the USDA being hovering over that transaction, as long as you comply with the local health inspections. You know, there are steakhouses in Washington, D.C. that cut up more beef than most small processors in Kentucky in a day, right?
Yeah.
Yet they don't have to have a USDA inspector. And the reason the big corporations, I call it the industrial meat complex, wants all these regulations on the little guys is to keep them out of the business. And so my Prime Act just says you can sell a steak or a hamburger to your neighbor using a local processor as long as you comply with the local health requirements and you don't need the USDA involved. And we got a pilot program for that in the Farm Bill.
We're about to talk about the beef process and the big four for beef processing here in the U.S., but he highlights something really important, which comes back to how for so long, looking back over the years, we could see how small businesses have been left behind and left in last place when it comes to these barriers of entry that comes with these regulations that government impose on these industries. In the name, it could be for security, for safety, but it becomes such a burden for these small businesses that we can't keep up. And as small business owners, we have to remind ourselves we are the heart of the economy. It is such a beautiful gift that we have to be able to own our small business here in the U.S. And it's something we've got to fight for and preserve for in our country. It's something that truly is beautiful. As I said, it is the heart of the economy, small businesses. And there are over 36 million small businesses. And when we unite, we have a powerful voice in being able to fight for small business first rather than small business last. And focusing locally more and more with younger generations, this is very important to be able to get our products and services on a local level, to be able to connect more with the community. We have a loneliness epidemic that is out there across the country. And so being able to connect and understand who our neighbors are, learn more about the different businesses in our communities, that is something that younger generations and across all generations, we can appreciate. It helps to create character in a city or town. And when you have just a big business that is in a town that is supporting the town, and then that big business leaves, we've seen so many different examples where then the town completely collapses. If that's mining in West Virginia, as an example. And this is something that we really need to focus on. How do we continue to make sure that we are creating resilience for our cities and towns across our country through multiple different industries that have small businesses in our cities or towns. And with this example, this is a great opportunity for a pilot program to be able to support local farmers, where what is happening currently is that if you were going to sell your meat, and let's think of specifically beef, if you're going to sell beef as a farmer, an independent a small family farm, you'd have to then take the livestock to a USDA inspected processing facility. Now, you can just take the time to look that up in your state real quick using AI. I use that with Gronk just to see how many of these USDA inspected processing plants are in your particular state. And then being able to determine how far away is that, because sometimes it could be hundreds of miles away where a farmer is going to have to go to get the meat processed, and then be able to figure out one, transportation to the plant, and then transportation all the way back after the meat's been processed. And that can add extra burden, extra costs, and then eventually can get to a point where it becomes really difficult to continue to operate your business, your farm. And then what happens is we, the American people, suffer from this because we're not able to get local healthy food options, or as many local healthy food options when it comes to our meats. Because with the beef processing, there are 4 major companies that have consolidated the power into having 80%, over 80% of the beef processing. And these companies are Tyson Foods, Cargill, JBS, and Natural Beef. 2 of which, Natural Beef and JBS, are owned by Brazilian companies. And so to think back to this future that we are moving towards with this movement of being able to make America's future a small business renaissance, we got to also remind ourselves, we got to support small businesses in our country. And what will happen with this pilot program is that now a farmer doesn't have to go to a USDA with this pilot program, and where it's moving forward would be the hope that it becomes something that is implemented across all 50 states. But with this pilot program, now a farmer doesn't have to go to a USDA inspected facility, but they can go to another local processing plant that passes the local health inspections, and that could create more opportunities for new businesses in the processing industry, and then also support more farmers to be able to not have to transport their livestock so for hundreds of miles, and instead they could be able to process their meat locally and then be able to sell that directly to consumers. And that's where you can go to farmers markets, to signing up for CSAs, but specifically for meat. There's all these different opportunities to be able to continue to support the business and the farm. That gets me really excited for what this could mean. And it's another way to not have, as Thomas Massey states here, not to have USDA in on this and overseeing this. Instead, we're taking more of the federal government out and then bringing it back more to a local level. And that is really important to be able to move forward and create more opportunities when we can continue to localize control where there's not overregulation, as I said before, where there's unnecessary regulations in your industries, figure out what those are, and then be able to communicate that to your elected officials in your local area, so local cities and towns on the state level, so that they're aware of it, and that you can continue to find ways to simplify the environment of how you're operating your business. And then from there, you're able to create more stability for your business, for your life, to be able to then handle the chaos that can happen moving forward in the future. And we need to understand these different patterns across industries, and how when it comes to politics, theology, culture, and economy, they're all interconnected in shaping the future. And so understanding, again, I said it before, that you may not care as a small business owner about politics, but politics cares about you. And then actually it can really simplify your environment of operating your business. But it's important to take a little bit of time to understand that. And the way you can do that is learning the basics of your industry, but then learning the different inputs in that industry. So where are the regulations that are involved in your specific industry? Who are the different players that can influence your industry? That could be other industries, that could be public sector, and that could be, when it comes to federal level, federal government. And it's important to understand all of these key players involved, because then you can become, at worst, when you understand the basics, you'll be a better decision maker. At best, you'll be unstoppable as a small business owner. And we have quite a lot of work to be done ahead of us to clean up a lot of messes, because we need to remove these barriers of entry. that have left small businesses in last place. And this is across industries. This gives me this makes me really excited for the future in this specific area when it comes to our healthy, to being able to provide more choices for local healthy food for Americans in our cities and towns. But then what this could mean for other small businesses across industries, which is that by getting government out of the way where there's unnecessary regulations, it can create more opportunities for people to start businesses, for businesses that are existing to be able to continue to operate and improve their operations. Because what I have noticed, looking back in history, you can look at this in examples in tech as well. Think about different companies like if it's Alphabet that owns Google, to Meta owns Facebook and Instagram, Amazon as an example, that when we look back in history, we could see how actually technology and then the government, when we're having new forms of technology and then government intervention coming in that can add on regulations, it actually can start to consolidate industries, because there can be high fixed costs with these regulations. And then with the technologies, it may be more difficult for these smaller, on a smaller level, smaller businesses to implement these technologies effectively, including the regulations. And so then there are certain industries where it can consolidate, thinking back to tech with examples like Amazon, Alphabet with this one, with beef processing. And that can really then hurt the opportunity for innovation as well, and being able to help improve the quality of life of Americans and across the board, across our different industries, and to continue to be able to provide opportunities for Americans to achieve the American dream, to improve their quality of life by starting with a small business, because there's a lot of risk involved there. So being able to take that on and then being able to improve their quality of life. And that's what I've noticed. And I want to get into that more next week, is this idea of, has technology plateaued when it comes to AI now and autonomous? Because with autonomous technology, we at this level with AI, it's out of the box. We're not putting it back in, but we've got to put boundaries on this technology, because where it could go down for a path is complete replacement of humans in jobs and businesses. And then what does that mean for our purpose as human beings moving forward? We have to decide, what kind of future do we want to live in? And for me, and this movement, we want to live in a future where America's future is a small business renaissance, where we have opportunities to flourish, where we can put boundaries on AI, be able to still make sure we're human first, not AI first. And with these new forms of technology, where things don't make sense, we got to be curious and ask questions, and really ask questions. Has our quality of life improved? And do we really think that AI is going to create a better quality of life? Or have we plateaued now with technology, and now we got to look to something new for progress into the future? That could be bringing back our moral principles of discipline, of bringing common sense back. And then now with our layer of technology, being able to bring those two together into moving forward into a new path for our future. And these are the questions we need to continue to ask, because we got to remember this worldview of the powerful, and how I think about that, the Epstein class, and then the rest of us. And with this movement's about the people versus the Epstein class, and giving more opportunities for Americans to be able to improve their quality of life, to be able to achieve the American dream, to be reminded that we absolutely have such an amazing amount of opportunities here in this country. And then we have to have the hard truth that for generations, the future and livelihood of younger generations have been intergenerationally stolen from them. And one source of this is the hidden tax of inflation and this short-term thinking, where a dollar today is worth roughly half the value of a dollar back in 2000. We're not on the right path moving forward in the future, where we're able to thrive as a society. Where we have to switch now is making sure we're bringing small business first, making sure we're coming back to our moral principles for the future, and to ask the question of, has technology plateaued? And then to remind ourselves that when it comes to freedom and convenience, they're incompatible at a certain point. And we got to come back to making sure we're preserving our freedoms here in this country, and our individual rights, like our freedom of speech and the ability to own our own small business, and to be able to move back towards free market capitalism, not move towards socialism and communism, because as I said before, our government had a stake of almost 10% in the company Intel, as an example. And when it comes to socialism, that's the appetizer to communism. But where all roads lead to is the abolish of private property, and this is something we have to reject as small business owners and as Americans. It's something we have to come back to, is preserving this right to be able to own our small business and to make sure that we fight for what is beautiful, good, and true about our country. And I do love this country. It is not a perfect country, but we got to continue to make sure that we come together and unite to move forward and make America's future a small business renaissance. So if you're a small business owner who wants to connect with other small business owners in person and shape the future, you can join us at A Future Fest. This is where you can register at afuturefest.com. It is happening in Charleston, South Carolina on January 14th, 15th, 2027. The plan is to have over 300 small businesses coming together to across industries. And when you can understand the patterns across industries, you can be better prepared for the chaos that can happen in the future, and you can create stability more for the business and for your life to be able to handle that chaos, because stability is the antidote of chaos, and right now we're experiencing a lot of that chaos. So I'm excited for that event, and then I will see you guys next week.